full council meeting number 847. Councillors, we open with a prayer. Heavenly Father, grant that we who would seek to serve you may have the wisdom of your Spirit, the guiding of your hand, and the grace to serve together for the prosperity of our city through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Please be seated. Councillors, item 1, attendance and apologies. We're all here. Tick. Leave of absence, nil. Condolences. I'd go to Councillor Gates.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I move that a motion of condolence be passed and a message of sympathy sent to Mrs Wendy Zupp and family on the recent passing of John Zupp.
Seconder, Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, John Zupp was chairman of the Zupp Property Group and was a well-respected business leader in Queensland. He was the figurehead of one of Australia's most successful motor dealerships, and I think we all agree that Zupp's became a household name here on the Gold Coast. Zupp's expanded from a small VW dealership in Ipswich in 1948 and became Queensland's largest privately owned motor group. Although John retired from the Zupp motor dealerships in 2007, he retained ownership of most of the dealership properties. This formidable portfolio of properties created the foundations for the Zupp Property Group, and many of us have welcomed Zupp developments to our respective areas. Mr Mayor, you'll recall that we were fortunate to spend time with John and Wendy Zupp in September of 21 when the 4-storey Zupp office building at Ormeau opened. For those of you who don't know, it's the large circular building that's visible from the M1. It was vacant for many years. And I wanted to mention this in particular because John Zupp was a truly generous gentleman. And at my request, he delivered a footpath that was not a condition of approval for the whole extent of the frontage of that property, providing connectivity to the busy Eggersdorf Road. And it had been something that had been wanted for many, many years, and he encouraged agreement so that we could deliver that community infrastructure at their expense. John Zupp passed away after a long and dignified battle with cancer, surrounded by his beloved wife of 60 years, Wendy, and his daughters, Tony and Terry. He was 93 years old, and may he rest in peace.
Councillors, put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against. Motion carried. Could you please add the following names? Councillor Young, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Hamill and Councillor Patterson. Okay. Condolence motion number 2, Councillor Tozer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would move that a motion of condolence be passed and a message of sympathy be forwarded to the Hardy family on the passing of Graham Gregory Hardy.
Seconder, Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Ian Bolton, the Secretary of the Springbrook Mountain Community Association, has just prepared just a few words just about Graham, which I'd like to read. Graham's grandfather, Jim Hardy, was one of the original colonial settlers arriving on Springbrook in 1906. Planning to continue his cheese making as he had in southern New South Wales. He helped create the dairy industry on the mountain, before moving to Mudgeeraba in 1917, and Hardy's Road is named after Graham's grandparents. Graham, who was born in 1931, he actually attended the original Springbrook State School and enjoying a rich rural existence, which included getting to know the US Army unit that was based at the top end of the mountain. In 1952, after completing his secondary education at Nudgee College in Brisbane, Graham spent a year in Papua New Guinea as a cadet administrator, returning to spend a year in Sydney at the School of Pacific Administration. He met and married his wife Trish in Brisbane before they resumed life in Papua New Guinea, where he remained for 23 years, raising a family of 7 children. After leaving Papua New Guinea, among other travels, Graham visited China and Ethiopia, where he played a role with the Red Cross in Addis Ababa during Ethiopia's famine. Eventually, in the 1990s, the Hardys moved permanently back to the family property in Springbrook and became active members of the local community. He was involved with the Chamber of Commerce in Springbrook, Land Care in Springbrook, the Volunteer Ambulance Group that regularly attends issues that occur as people travel up and down the mountain, and was for many years a member of the Springbrook Mountain Community Association's Management Committee. It was an initiative of Graham's that saw the banana bridges on Springbrook Road becoming heritage listed and named, and he was also active in pushing for the Great Walk to be continued down the cream track to Tallabudra because of his family's connection to the dairy industry, which is what the cream track is named after. Mr Mayor, I know you've been a big advocate of the cream track, and this is some of the history. Trish and Graham had a wealth of knowledge about European settlement of the Springbrook area, which they were always willing to share, and a search of past editions of the Voices magazine published by the Springbrook community will reveal numerous letters and articles on a wide range of topics. They moved to Brisbane in 2016, effectively bringing to an end any direct connection with the original European settlers on the mountain, whose names appear on the plaque at the top of Hardy's Hill at Hardy's Lookout. Mr Mayor, I remember Graham shared a number of coffees and cups of tea with me early on in my time as a councillor, helping me understand that rich history of the background of Springbrook. And he was well liked by the whole Springbrook community, even though there's, sometimes very different views up there. He had this close connection to the establishment of the first European communities that settled on Springbrook, and I know he'll be really, really sorely missed. And his book, Over the Hills and Far Away, talks about his time in Papua New Guinea, where he led a community over there, and his time in Ethiopia, where he worked for the Red Cross. This man was an amazing contributor to communities both here and elsewhere, and he'll be a really precious Gold Coaster who'll be missed.
Councillor, I'll put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Okay, councillors, as there's no other condolence motion listed, I'll move on to the next item, item 4, Mayoral Minute. There's only one. Councillors, I move that the Mayor write to Ms. Regina King to formally offer her the honour of keys to the city of the Gold Coast. And a couple of, you've seen what I wrote in the proposing to honour Regina, but I'll just add a few additional words from my personal point of view here, councillors. The background, as you know, she's called Gold Coast home as a resident since 1965, and she was an entertainer, singing, performing in variety shows, and after that she became an iconic Gold Coast photographer, and who record the chronicles of the social life and major events for decades. And I could say that any major events that's happened over the decades, such as Sanctuary Cove opening, Jupiter's Casino, Marriott, and many, many more, Regina's always there, and her catch cry when she's got the camera on you is to make you smile, and she would, in her own way, say "yoo-hoo," and she'll say it again until she gets a smile out of you. But my view is that as soon as I meet Regina and Peter, her lifelong partner, it's always bring a smile to my face, and because the warmth of her spirit, and she's doing her job there at the Bulletin there because of the love of the city, And some of you, the longer you've been here, the more you would have run across Regina. Some of you who are relatively new, you would have run across her as well. And I hope that they put a history book of photograph right through the years of the Gold Coast. It would be a wonderful memento, and I hope that happens. But for someone to always promote local charities, so I said about the big events and major events, she's there at any small charity as well that any of us go to, and she just gets around. And in later days, a bit harder for her to get around, but she still does. And only in recent last couple of years that she's mobility issue, she doesn't get around as much. I signed a congratulation letter only on Friday, and congratulating her. A man can't mention a lady's age, but it was commemoration, congratulations from the city, and happy birthday to her. And so hopefully she'll get to the mark where she gets a letter from the King as well. And anyhow, councillors, I can't highly recommend enough for a person to be awarded Key to the City, not just the love of the city, but the work she's done behind the scene and in charity work. Councillors, anyone want to speak against? I'll put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, someone like to move we receive the minutes? Councillor Tozer, seconder, Councillor Flower. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Any corrections, anyone? Any matters you need to bring it out to correct? No? I'll move for adoption. Anyone? Councillor Hamill, seconder, Councillor Fowler. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. We now move to next item, which is the Mayor's report. Councillor, item 1, 21st of August, Harbour Shores groundbreaking ceremony. If you can put the slides up. And I was joined by Councillor Shelley Curtis. Return the sod for the master plan, which will deliver 2,000 new homes over the next decade in Bickery Waters. The site will transform and it'll be a very sustainable community parkland as well. Creates 5,000 jobs, 6 Green Star rating for green building, and so that project is going to be much needed housing for in the northern area. Next item is celebrating cultural leaders. The event was held on the 21st of August at Hotter Lakeside Room to celebrate Multicultural Queensland's Month. It's great to see leaders coming together from various multicultural group, and I gave a very brief speech that that a third of the Gold Coasters nowadays are come from overseas and elsewhere. So thank you to the Multicultural Community Council Gold Coast, the Multicultural Family Organisation, and Thriving Multicultural Community who collaborated to deliver this event. Then we go to Councillor Gates, who as acting mayor was very busy.
I'll be very quick, Mr Mayor. We'll whip through these. I had the pleasure of welcoming the Women's PGA Championship to the Gold Coast. It'll be the first time that the Women's PGA has been held as a standalone event here. And I was able to mention we were still bruised from losing the Men's PGA, and perhaps there was an opportunity to bring that back as well. So let's hope so. Then the next thing was the LGAQ executive came to town, and Alicia Swain and I attended on behalf of the city. It was a fairly informal night after I made a welcome speech, but fairly informal night, but good to meet all the members of the policy executive and talk about the southeast area. On Saturday the 24th of August, it was the 8 years to go celebration at Griffith University, and I found Councillor Curtis there making her children exercise. So that was a great morning, and we joined former Paralympians at the site, and there were lots. It was a tryout day for lots of different sports. On the 26th of August, we had the Life-Saving Championships, the World Life-Saving Championships, which entailed 5,000 competitors. I think on the night I said 5,000 countries by mistake, but with only 50 countries represented at that event. But that was a great night, and I have a presentation to make to you from that event, Mr Mayor, a little later. On the 28th of August, it was the CEO Service and Excellence Awards. So the CEO and I attended with Councillors Fowler, O'Neill, Wilkinson, anyone else? Oh, and Curtis and LaCastra. I thought I had left a couple out there, which is why I was checking to make sure that I didn't miss you. But that was great to see over 200 nominations and the CEO recognising the outstanding service that we received from so many of our council officers. Citizenship ceremonies, there were 3 on the 2nd of September, and we welcomed over 1,000 new Australian citizens from 53 different countries. The opening night of Swell was on the 5th of September, and tell me if I get these wrong, but Councillors O'Neill, Martin, Fowler and Tozer attended. It's the 22nd Swell Festival, and there was this magnificent performance of opera on the beach that we were all a little worried about because it was so cold and windy, but it was such an outstanding performance that we all began to feel a little guilty for being critical. It was really a great night, so that was good. On the 9th of September, we announced that the 40th anniversary of the Coolangatta Gold will return to the Gold Coast on October 12th and 13th. There were 11 former champions there, and just fantastic to see them all looking so fit and healthy after 40 years, some of the earlier representatives. So that was a great morning. Then there was a Da Nang delegation, Mr Mayor. All these people came from Vietnam to talk about shared opportunities into the future, and I know you have a special invitation coming where they would like you and I, but it'll be you, to attend a forum in January of next year. And it was a really beneficial gathering and highlighted so many synergies between our two cities and so many opportunities, and they're so advanced in the tech space that I personally think it would be a great thing if you could consider going at their invitation. The big announcement while you were away was that we've got Green Day coming to Seabus Super Stadium on the 5th of March next year. That has been so well received, and ticket sales are booming, and just great to have another first-class act and one of the favourite rock bands of all time coming to the city. The final thing that I did on your behalf, Mr Mayor, was attend the Gold FM 50/50 party and look at our star, Councillor Joe Wilkinson. I actually put that wig on my head. It was a very big mistake, and they snapped a photo, which I asked them to please lose, but they didn't. But that was just a celebration of Spider and Ali's 50th birthdays. I made a couple of speeches that night. Can't quite remember what I said. Had a couple of wines. It was a very good night and a lot of fun. And that's a wrap, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Well, on the item 12, the announcement of Green Day at Seabus Stadium, congratulations to people who at Experience Gold Coast to bring that together. And I know that Brisbane are pissed. Anyway, my humble opinion. And so, following on from that, councillors, Paralympic Games. It was important to be on the ground to attend Paralympic Games and learn what modifications and what we need to do when it comes to 2032. Being a young city, and we've been working hard really for 10 years to make sure that our city, I know we have a motto, we leave no one behind, and that we're very DDA compliant, and a lot of our sporting facility and community facilities caters for people with mobility issues. So in my mind, when it comes to 2032, we'll be playing a major role in doing the Paralympics, because to retrofit some of the facilities in Brisbane, I think it's going to be very tough for them. So just keep an eye on that. There were, out of 16 Gold Coast athletes, 10 brought home 14 medals across 12 events. So congratulations, not just the medal winners, but all the people who participated. One of the first event I went to was the women's S7 400 freestyle final at the Paris La Défense Arena, and I watched her in the semi, then I watched her in the final, and congratulations to Holly Warren, daughter of John Warren at Experience. But apart from that, it was very hotly contested. She was the youngest, not just in the field, but in our Olympic team, only 15 years old, and it's a long future for her, and I know she's will be the one to watch in LA 2028. Next item, Saint Denis Friendship and Cooperation Agreement. I caught up with Mayor Hamilton, and I signed the agreement in recognition of our city's shared values. And in the agreement, we talked about, as said, about major events, because they've got the Olympic. They got so many facilities in Saint Denis, and to those who's watching online, Saint Denis is probably the second largest city. It just happened to be right next to Paris, and it's so similar to us in the way that we're pretty close to Brisbane, so they've got the same sort of things that they have. I call it Paris-centric funding, and they have to fight for every dollar as well to be spent in Saint Denis. And their the basilica in Saint Denis, the mayor says to me that that it's older than Notre Dame. So they've got a very, very long history, and of course he spent a lot of time showing me where 1,000-year-old people, graves are buried underneath and all that, and it was wonderful. Councillors, I'd like to table the Agreement of Friendship and Cooperation that was signed by both mayors. One's in English and the other one's in French, and and I took the opportunity also to invite Mayor Hamilton to come and visit us on the Gold Coast, and So hopefully he takes that opportunity. And we also talked about students exchanged between the two countries. So I'll put it through the Junior Council and see if we can exchange students from the Gold Coast to Saint Denis, and Saint Denis can send some to come over here to build further friendship in the next generation. The other thing I did mention that I wasn't sure, I didn't talk to the CEO, but I said that it'd be good to have offer exchange.
That's not me in the background.
That's their version of Tim.
Inferior.
And gee, you got a good. I didn't even. Okay, so the idea that if someone is Mr. CEO's proficient and can add value, let's reach out to see if we can exchange an officer. We did that with Chengdu, and if you speak to officer who did the exchange, it's so much to be gained, and they can share that friendship as well. So so we'll see how it goes. If we can work on it, the two city, and we gain build opportunities through economic opportunities, you know, we can reconsider to take it to the next step as a sister city councillor. So that's a pathway. Then I was have the opportunity to see their Olympic Aquatic Centre. That's where the water polo and diving, but it was much more than that. Interior, it was so much bigger inside. The roof is concave like that. There's a reason for it, that it's less volume of airspace, so therefore it used less air conditioning. Instead of being a dome, concaved, harder to build, because I was talking to the engineer there quite a bit, and it's the longest. They used timber, recycled timber, to do those big beams, compressed beam together, and even the seats, I noticed multicolour. So I said, "Oh, interesting seats." I said, "Yeah, we got the schools to collect all the bottles and bottle tops and recycled it and made seats out of that." And so the whole stadium is very conscious on the recycling. In the photo there, had the president of Paris Organising Committee, Mr. Tony Estraguid. So it's good to catch up with him again, and also Mr. Patrick Ollier, president of Greater Paris Metropolis and mayor of Rouen Malmaison. He's the guy on my right, and what he's explaining, I guess it's a bit like the Council of Mayors, but formal. They've got a lot of cities surrounding Paris, and he's the president of all the councils surrounding Paris. And so he's the one who saw through the red tape to coordinate all the councils to put on the Olympic 2032. So it's good to see him there. And of course, Mr. Shem is the Deputy Mayor to Sports and Olympics Paralympian. He's the one in the far right on the screen, and I think he was a legendary rugby player in Paris. And so I gave him a good handshake. So sustainability plays an important role in the planning of that stadium, but underneath there's so many other facilities. There's rock climbing underneath there, and things like that, and it's connected to the France stadium. Like there's a walkway, so you can walk across to the main stadium, and the walkway, and underneath the walkway they've built so many sporting facilities as well. So it's wonderful to see. Next, we went to Royal Arena, Copenhagen, and the CEO, Dan Hammer, was there from the beginning, and now he's in charge of operations, but he was in charge of the design. And the next slide, that's the opening night. Capacity of 17,000. The first gig in 2017, and the band playing in the middle there is Metallica. And he shared so much of what you need, what they did, and a mile of and the seats there. Why is that colour? Into minute details. So, but while we were there, they were bumping in esports. That's another big thing there. So all those learnings, we have taken a lot of notes, and we'll be incorporating that multifunction of an arena is the best way to do it. And so when we look at perhaps doing an arena here in our city, we can incorporate all that. My mindset would be great to get Dan across, but anyway, that's another story. So next one, we went to the Waste and Energy, Coopin Hill. It's a landmark facility, and that's what it can look like out at Yatala. And we went right through it. I went right up to the top, and the CEO didn't need to, so we left him below. The facility there is they are doing about 600,000 tonnes of waste processing. So, I mean, that facility would absolutely can, if we build that size, would handle our house for the next 30 to 50 years. So we can have a look at that, look at the combustion, where what they built there is next to it is they built a ski slope, because Copenhagen is very flat, and in winter that's actually snow, not just grass, not artificial grass. So people actually go there to ski, but in doing that they've got an education centre. So there's a tour so people understand, more so in teaching the kids about recycling. And we both agree the best form of recycling is that the best form and the cheapest form is that the householders actually recycle at home, put the glass in the right bin, the green in the green bin, and if we can do that from home, it'll keep our waste levy low. So, and they've got other technology. Oh yeah, that's wall climbing as well.
It's the highest in Europe.
Yeah.
It's the highest in, I think Europe might be the world.
What, the wall? The wall climbing there, and I'm told that's the highest one. And I try to talk our CEO to try it out, but my power of persuasion is Dwayne. And that's where you see the trucks coming in and just dumping there, and all their trucks are electric. So if we can work with our contractor and talk to them about in advance that we would like you to go electric, would be good. And we just got to work out where we can use, what facility we can use for more solar panels and batteries, so that we can charge up our trucks to be electrical. Okay, and had a quick look at the furnace, very hot. And then had a look at real-time emission data and technical stuff. They were really into it, and so it was fantastic, very generous. Next one was City Insurance. Met up with Diane Colton, chair of our captive insurance company, and I reflect on when I first got there in 2013, and of what we wanted, and then there was a snapshot since 2012, our population has grown. Our gross regional product's grown quite a lot. Registered number of business, our city budget itself, our debt, of course, reduced, crane in the sky, and all in all, and then I shared with her our key deliverable projects, green waste and all that. What it means that the city has grown so much, and so much activity of our events and all that, and yet our captive insurance for the city has kept it same rate. So it has really worked for ratepayers, and we know now there's another. I think there's 10 council in New South Wales are looking into captive insurance, and but we're light years ahead. So I guess we'll help them a little bit where we go. We're the only one in Australia at the moment, and now everyone's going looking at the result, going, well, why can't they do it? So anyhow, next one, Trafalgar Entertainment caught up with Sir Howard Panter and his CEO Andrew Hill, and the first thing Sir Howard said to me, "Did you like Taylor Swift?" And I said, "Of course." Trying to think, what are you talking about? And then I remembered he was the one who got it transmitted, the live concert, to Hodder so that we can have it here. And he said, and you know that you're the only one who got it in Australia. Just making the point that he didn't do it for the money, it just to prove the case that sharing with me his future, there's going to be a lot of digital transmission. So we're updating our outdoor stadium to 7,500 people, and we've got indoor theatre. So other digital that he will be controlling of, he's the biggest. Nobody else is touching the sides. He's the biggest one, and I said, well, you need to come out and to the Gold Coast. Thinking, yeah, one day and all that. Anyway, mid next month he'll be here. I want to show him our Hodder precinct, and then he shared with us the biggest theatre in London. He's going to be the operator, but also he put a lot of skin in the game that you can see being built. It's called Olympiad Theatre. It's got 5 levels, 6 bars, 17 VIP boxes, all those sort of stuff. So he's not standing still. He's got 100+ venue globally, and due to a relationship that we've built, and he's keen to advise us at first instance of our lyric theatre to make sure the end user, like himself, that we got it right. And he goes, like I said to you, you got to have 100 females' toilets. I said, yes, I know, I've told everyone that. And so he said, see, you do listen. So anyhow, all in all, when he gets out here, we'll show him around and get as much ideas from him. And he's very generous with his time, and to be the world's biggest theatre operator, willing to recognise that the Gold Coast is the place to be for theatre, and he's looking forward to. I told him all about my visit to QPAC, the next lyric theatre, and he knew all about it, every detail. I'm trying to say, oh, I saw this, the line of sight, where the balconies can come in closer to the theatre. He said, yes, mate, I know John Costa. So in other words, but he said, it's not a competition, John said. And he said, yeah, no, it's not, but yours will be better. So that's how it was great. And then as soon as I got back, councillors, on Friday, I flew in Thursday night, late. So I went and stayed in Brisbane and went to Councillor Mayor's Friday morning. I said I would, and as an observer, and caught up with Shadow Minister for Local Government and Leahy, so it was good to be there for that as well. The synergy, yeah, it was good synergy, good bunch of mayors, and topics include fire ants. The other major topic is solid waste levy. Everyone's all panicking about what they're going to do, and because you all know that the subsidies from the from Queensland government is going to be cut back and back and back, and passing the cost of levy is going to go up, and everyone's freaking out that by the time in 10 years what that's going to go to, and that's why so important that we get the funding and right for the waste to energy. We've got to get as much money as we can from the state and federal government to help us build that, and then partner with private enterprise so we can deliver. It's the biggest council infrastructure project anywhere in Australia, and of course, you know, Brisbane now is going, oh, we can do it too, and we'll go for the city deal, blah blah blah. I said, listening, I'm going, yeah, but we're well in advance. So pleased we bought the land, and so pleased that we're got the design going, and so that we can start our advocacy on that. Then Saturday night, went to the Queensland Athlete Olympic and Paralympic Welcome Home at the Brisbane Royal Entertainment Convention Centre. It was a real privilege to be there. Saw all the Olympians come in, and it's wonderful to hear the different story behind the scene. So proud to be a Queenslander and an Australian, and so wonderful to see up close all the people who are Olympians, and no doubt that that it's one of those nights that so happy that made the effort to go up and welcome the athletes. We are going to welcome them on Sunday, and I did a radio Tom Tate Tuesday, and I said it's going to be here at Hotter. Free fun for all the family. Come meet your Olympic and the Paralympic heroes, and I think the markets will be open, music will be there, so it'll be great fun for the whole family. So another one. So councillors, I move that the Mayor's report be welcome noted. Second to Councillor Gates. All in favour, show of hands. Against. Motion carried, unanimous. Clarifications, nil. Business arising from the minutes, it's nil. Presentation, I go to Councillor Gates.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a very heavy statue that was presented at the World Life Saving Championships, and I was able to tell them your office is under renovation and it will take pride of place in your office. So this is an event that had almost as many participants as our Commonwealth Games. So it was massive for the city, and I accepted this with pleasure on your behalf.
Okay. Could I ask Councillor Wilkinson to carry it out for you?
Oh, I can do it.
Oh, yeah? Oh, all right.
It's actually a life-size replica of Councillor Gates.
Okay, will I put it somewhere?
All right. We go to item 10, conflict of interest declarations for general, nil. Okay, now we go to item 11, 11.1, Planning Regulation Committee. Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, I move the minutes of the 847th Planning and Regulation Committee held on 3rd of September 2024, covered by recommendations 1 to 5, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Doran. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Councillor, any items you want to deal separately? Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, I move that all remaining recommendations be adopted.
Seconder, Councillor Doran. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Now we go to Governance, Administration and Finance. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the minutes of the 847 Governance Committee held on 3rd of September covering recommendations 1 to 12 be received. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Martin. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Right. Councillors, any items you want to deal separately?
Sorry.
I'll go to Councillor Gates.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like 7.2 to be dealt with separately so that I can leave the room, please, Mr Mayor. I have a prescribed conflict of interest due to being a beneficiary of the Harchelma Proprietary Limited trading as the Gates Family Discretionary Trust. It operates primarily at Sanctuary Cove, but the report relates to benefits from the Hope Island Channel, and so I'll be leaving the room and not participating.
Okay. That will go to 7.2.
Oh, need my swap.
Okay. We'll go 7.2. Councillor Patterson, you care to move as per committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Martin, seconder. Right. You want to speak on that, or?
I do, Mr Mayor. This is a matter that's come to council. I think it was said something like 40-something reports to council over this. It's been a complicated matter for us to consider, and I did at the time accept and move the officer's recommendation. But I just stand to acknowledge Councillor Fowler. 3 councillors before her have been advocating for this outcome, and it was her diligence and work with her community that resulted in the committee recommendation. So I support that, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Anyone speak against the motion? Put it to the vote. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Mr CEO, could you ask Councillor Gates to come back in? Other items, Councillor Patterson?
Yes, Mr Mayor, 6.6.
6.6. Okay, councillors, we go to 6.6. Councillor Patterson.
Mr Mayor, I move that this item be deferred to the council meeting to be held on the 22nd of October, at which time the final annual report, including financial statements, will be presented for council's consideration.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Martin. Anyone object to that? We put a vote. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 22nd October it is. Okay. Any other items, councillors? Councillor Peter Young.
Mr Mayor, item 7.4 is a closed agenda item dealing with artificial intelligence and update, and I don't want to discuss it, but I just wanted to mention my concern and seek that the CEO will liberate as much of this report as is possible for public consumption, because I think there's a great deal of interest in artificial intelligence, and how management of that as a public authority is really important. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Patterson, you moved it in the committee. Would you care to move 7.4? Okay. Councillor Martin would care to second it? Okay. Mr CEO, you take that on board. And you want to speak on it?
Yes, briefly, Mr Mayor. I did request this item come to council, and good governance for any board, which I suppose we are, requires a consideration of artificial intelligence. It is already being used, of course, whether it just be ChatGPT or the likes. It's going to impact how potholes are discovered and is being in our streets. So having a formalised assessment of this and looking at the future, it's something that we do need to manage. And I thank the officers for a really comprehensive report, which I understand they're now going to be rolling out and communicating to all departments, so everybody understands where we're at on that.
Okay. Anyone speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carry, unanimous. Any other items to deal separately? Councillor Patterson? Councillor Doran?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 6.3.
6.3. Okay. Yep, go ahead.
Mr Mayor, 6.3 deals with light vehicles for community initiatives, and I'm in agreement with the recommendation, but I think the council would be wise to place a cap on the number of vehicles that are endorsed through this initial pilot program. I'm open to suggestions, Mr Mayor, but I'm seeking to put a cap of 25 vehicles for the first 12-month period.
Yeah, that's fine. Could you add that on? Cap of 25 vehicles. You want to move the recommendation, right, with the cap of 25 vehicles in the first 12 months? Question, Councillor Tozer.
Mr Mayor, can I ask a question through you to Councillor Doran? Why that figure is proposed?
Yeah, why 25?
You know? Help me understand why I should support 25.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was not on the committee for GAF, but I looked back at the video and there was some discussion around upwards of 200 vehicles needing to be dealt with by the city over the forward period. I feel like, as I said right at the start, that there's probably some flexibility in the number, but I feel like leaving it completely open-ended does expose the council to some costs that we probably haven't fully considered.
Okay.
So I would like a cap on the vehicles initially, but I'm open to the number. That was my starting position, Mr Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Gates.
Mr Mayor,
sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Gates.
It was discussed at committee with the CEO, who suggested that a cap was appropriate, but we never quite got there. And I would agree that there's been a little misunderstanding in the community about the availability of these vehicles, and I think Councillor Doran's suggestion is very sensible. There will be specific uses that some of the vehicles can be put to. There was talk about the flooding of the market if we put all of these vehicles up for sale at the one time. And we never really nutted that out. I think with a population of 700,000 almost, we can probably put those cars up for sale, even if it's 25 per fortnight or something over a number of weeks. So I think it's valid that we get a return on the rest of the vehicles to help with the bucket of funds we've got to spend within the city, and that we already doubled our contribution to community groups, thanks to you, in the last budget. So went up to $2 million that we are donating to community groups. And for people where there is a need, I think that 25 is a good suggestion.
Okay. Councillor Tozer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the meeting, my understanding was there was actually, as part of the fleet review that we did, I'm just working off my notes here, but maybe I could just ask the question first. Was there 289 vehicles? Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct.
So, look, my view is that the 25 is too low a cap when we have 289 vehicles surplus to our requirements. The idea of a cap, obviously supported by the CEO and proposed by Councillor Doran, makes some sense to me, but I think 25 is too low when there's 289 vehicles. I think the issue that we will have in the city, Mr. Mayor, is that if 274 vehicles can't be moved on the secondary market in a reasonable period of time, we'll actually just have vehicles sitting around for a period of 12 months. I think that actually presents an issue for us. So if the cap could be closer to 50 or 75, I think that would make more sense. But I just think 25 is too low.
Okay,
for
I'll go to the
sheer
CEO
volume.
to see his thoughts on.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of points. So, yep, I was supportive of a cap. I think a cap's not a bad idea. Just gives us a framework in which to put the program around as well. I would probably err on the side of 50 rather than 25. But what I could suggest, if it's okay through you, Mr. Mayor, is we can run the process, see what level of interest we have. If we're getting well over 25 or whatever number we land on, we can always come back to council. So 25 is not a bad starting point, but I think the city administration's preference would be 50 rather than 25.
Councillor Tozer?
Mr. Mayor, with that in mind, I'd be much more comfortable either supporting an amendment to 50 or foreshadowing a 50, whichever you prefer.
There's no seconder yet, so Councillor Doran, you're right. If we amend it to 50, would you second the motion?
Absolutely.
50?
Yep.
All right. Change it to 50. Seconder, Councillor Tozer. All right. Anyone want to speak against? Councillor Peter Young?
Don't want to speak against Mr. Mayor, and I'm grateful for you asking the CEO his contribution to that debate. I certainly am happy with a higher cap of 50. I just wanted to ask, are these vehicles going to carry some messaging that they've been provided by the city?
Mr. CEO?
The short answer is yes, Councillor. Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, but not in a way that's going to create unnecessary expense. So we will find a way to put our branding on it, but we're not going to wrap the cars because we're trying to keep the expense as low as possible.
Councillor Gates?
Just a question about that, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I only had a concern about branding the vehicles because in reading the report, some of the vehicles will be possibly given to areas outside of our city. If there was a valid contribution to the Gold Coast, it was going to be okay for vehicles to go to Brisbane or the Tweed or whatever. And I had a personal concern that our ratepayers may not be comfortable with that, with the thought of funding vehicles that are used potentially outside the city. And it was mentioned that that was the possibility within the report in the conditions of the grant applications.
Mr. CEO?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So in the rare circumstance where the organisation is operated, say, from the Tweed, but their business is being done inside the city, that's the example where we would use it. We would not, when it's not proposed to give this to, say, Toowoomba or Ipswich, it's only where, say, for example, there was a border type operation, and I mean border in terms of state border and council border, but the primary use of the vehicle would be inside the Gold Coast. That's the preference.
Councillor Tozer?
And we can make sure it says that, sorry, Deputy, in the grant application.
Mr. Mayor, when this matter came to committee, I had a number of queries from charities based in and near and who provide services to my area, and they asked questions about it. One of the options was to make application to provide a vehicle for a new family, in fact a refugee family who had appropriate driver's licences but didn't yet, they were kind of becoming accustomed to the Gold Coast, and I would like to think that an organisation like that would be an eligible recipient and that family would be able to drive for the period of 12 months wherever they chose to drive, depending on what their commitments were. I would like to think that charity does some wonderful work in helping people from those difficult backgrounds, and I'd hate to think that our restrictions on this would prevent that family from operating like a normal family within
the grant application.
Yeah, thank you.
But the focus is the Gold Coast. Anyone speak against? You want to close? Oh, you want to close? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of discussing the light vehicles for community initiatives today was to put a cap on the process because there is a significant surplus of vehicles in the city that needs to be dealt with. The purpose of bringing a cap isn't to limit community groups' ability to get to take advantage of this great initiative. It's to make sure that it's a competitive process and that the grant application has some integrity around the availability of these vehicles. It's about saving money for the city and ensuring that we get great value for money. Also acknowledge Councillor Gates's comments around the city's already very generous increase in our community grants and partnerships programs for this year. This is a wonderful initiative that uses surplus vehicles to help really hard-working community groups within the Gold Coast, and I move the motion.
Okay, the debate's closed, councillors. I put it to the vote to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Any other items, councillors, to deal separately? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that all remaining recommendations be adopted.
Second to Councillor Martin. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. We now move to Lifestyle, Environment, Heritage and Resilient. Councillor Tozer.
I move that the minutes of the Lifestyle, Environment, Heritage and Resilience Committee, number 847, held on the 5th of September 2024, covered by recommendations 1 to 7, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Marshall. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Any items to be dealt separately, councillors? Councillor Tozer.
I move that the recommendations of that committee be adopted, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Marshall. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Councillors, turn the page. We go to 11.4, Economic, Tourism and Events. Councillor Lacastra.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I move the minutes of the Economy, Tourism and Events Committee meeting held on the 5th of September 2024 and covered by recommendations 1 to 4 that they be received.
Second to Councillor Fowler. All in favour, show of hands. Against, a motion carried. Councillor, any items you wish to deal separately? Councillor Lacastra.
Please, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Fowler. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. We go to Water, Waste and Energy. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the minutes of the 847 Water, Waste and Energy Committee meeting held on the 10th of September 2024, covered by recommendations 1 to 8, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Wilkinson. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Any items you wish to deal separately, councillors? Councillor Tozer.
Item 6.1, please, Mr. Mayor.
6.1. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to move the committee recommendation, but the reason I have pulled that out is because today, later in the meeting, we will receive a petition in fact, we will not receive a petition from the petitioner that has necessitated this report has gone back to the community and collected more signatures and then submitted that as a new properly made petition. And I want to just flag to the community and those who might be watching that we're not going to do 2 reports on the same issue. We're going to use this response in dealing with the subsequent petition which we'll receive later today. Okay. So that's as much as I wanted to say. I just didn't want the community to think we were ignoring them. The same issue is being dealt in 2 tranches of petitioning.
Seconder. Councillor Gates, put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Right. Any other items to deal separately, councillors? Councillor Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that all remaining recommendations be adopted.
Second to Councillor Wilkinson, put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Transport Infrastructure, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the minutes of the 847th Transport and Infrastructure Committee held on the 10th of September 2024, covered by recommendations 1 to 10 be received.
Seconder, Councillor Gates. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Councillor, any item you wish to deal separately? Councillor Tozer.
Item 6.3, Mr. Mayor.
6.3, okay.
I'm happy to move the committee recommendation and then quickly speak to it.
Move the recommendation. Seconder, Councillor O'Neill.
Mr. Mayor, at the committee, we discussed at length a fairly large project that seeks to connect Old Coach Road, a council road that connects a number of private schools in the kind of southwestern Gold Coast, the area of Reedy Creek, through. Old Coach Road travels down to Talabudra, and the proposal was to engage in a fairly extensive, big project to make Old Coach Road a connecting road between the end of Bermuda Street, which is kind of a central spine of our city, down to Talabudra Connection Road, which is a place just south of my division, I think Councillor O'Neill's division, that has been a place of lots of accidents, Mr. Mayor. Honestly, this road is it's an old coach road. It's called Old Coach Road. It's like a road that old coaches would travel on. It's pretty awful. And frankly, the substance of what we discussed at committee, Mr. Mayor, was that the scope of the project had surpassed any of our expectations, had been costed at too much for what we thought was value for money, given the priorities in the city, but also, more importantly, focused on elements of the road network that really should be the responsibility of the state. And it's one of those times where I feel a bit frustrated because some years ago I went out to the community and told them that this road was one of the most important road connections in the southern Gold Coast, and I did that in good faith, thinking that the state government would ultimately come to the party and unlike other places in the city, we would be able to proactively deliver a road network improvement before the full level of congestion might reach that area. There has been significant growth in the areas that feed into this space. We've got great investment when it comes to sporting fields in this area. This is a place where lots of people recreate. And frankly, I was pretty excited about it, Mr. Mayor. There was a really pretty animation that was created about it, and it looked really great. The community seemed very supportive, but the costing has just come out too much. There are so many priorities in our city that relate to the road network, and it would be very difficult for me to stand up today, given what's been said at the committee, and advocate as strongly as I have in the past for this project. However, the committee talked a little bit about that, and we talked about using some of the budget that we've already got set aside to come up with a MacGyver type solution. And I speak about MacGyver, and we're kind of coming up with a unique, innovative solution to try to solve some of that problem without actually delivering the full gamut of a 4-lane kind of dual carriageway type solution, which was what was originally proposed. I hope councillors will support us with this recommendation today. It effectively scales back our work and delegates to the state government the responsibility that they have to make sure their road network is safe and also connected in the right places to make sure people can get to where they need to go quickly, safely and efficiently, and working in hand in glove with the council road network to make sure people can get around this city in the most productive and efficient way. I hope councillors will support the motion that was debated at committee. It's the right thing to do.
Okay, Councillor Gates.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Councillors will recall that I've been opposed to this road ever since it was first introduced to us because of the state responsibility. It's basically the extension of Bermuda Street, and the state has not been willing to join forces. I note that there's $500,000 in the budget, and that is what is going to be used for the planning, and then there will be a report back to council, which gives me a little bit of encouragement. But it's a rural road, Mr. Mayor. The safety conditions, the incidents have been addressed through the installation of signals, so the safety aspect has now been dealt with as we were advised at committee. At committee, it was also reported that 9,000 vehicles a day use this road, and I have to say that 2 years ago, 42,000 vehicles a day were using Foxwell Road. So my question at committee was, can officers please explain to me how multi-million-dollar works are being prioritised in the city to address areas where people actually drive out of their driveway into a traffic jam? And for that reason, we only have one bucket of money, and I think we have to get really serious about addressing the concerns where we've targeted our growth, where we know that growth is happening. where it's already there, it's not coming, it's there. And so for that reason, I can't support this today.
Okay. Councillor, I note item 6 that I write to the Minister, and well, the way I look at it, when the design, the $500,000 spent, I'll write the first one that we're doing it, and then we can update our progress and to advocate for state funding so that we can get the original design and that they come and join really the state road. Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And Mr Mayor, I really appreciate that action that you're going to take, because the original solution for that signalisation was a four-way signalisation, so you're not going from Old Coach Road into Tallabudgera Creek Road and then left into Tallabudgera Connection Road. The four-way signalisation is the best option, and really to do that, the state would need, we would need to upgrade Old Coach Road, lift it, and really the state should be paying for that. So I really appreciate that you're taking that action. Thank you.
Okay. To close, Councillor Tozer.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just to clarify some of the comments that Councillor Gates made, the reality is the safety issues remain. As of today, those safety issues are still in place. And frankly, the state does need to come to the party sooner rather than later to make sure that signalisation has occurred. Officers have let us know that the state have put it in their provisions and they're making those steps, but they have not scheduled construction as far as I know. We don't know when it's going to happen, although it does appear to be budgeted in this financial year. Frankly, that wouldn't be the first time that something's budgeted in a state budget, but it doesn't get delivered. Sooner rather than later, that signalisation has to occur to keep residents of the Tallabudgera and Reedy community safe. It hasn't been done yet, and the state need to do that immediately. And I can assure members of the community that council's work in improving the Old Coach Road, which is a council road, that safety work is already ongoing. We're in there currently even designing and making sure we've got good safety solutions that can keep that old country road, as Councillor Gaze, I think she's called it an old rural road, safe for people who are using it there. We're doing our work, but the state has not started, and they should as soon as possible.
Okay, the debate's closed, councillors. So can you do the first draft for me, then Luke will top and tail it. Okay, thank you. Councillor, I'll put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, super majority. Any other items separately? Councillor Hamill?
7.1, if we could, Mr Mayor.
We go to 7.1, councillors.
Mr Mayor, just seeking to move the committee recommendation and speak to it quickly again.
Second, Mr Mayor.
So, Mr Mayor, excuse me, Mr Mayor. Sorry, I've got a bit of some advice if we can make a minor change. Seeking to, made advice, both technical and legal. So it's a administrative, my apologies. It's an administrative change that doesn't change the intent of the actual motion, but it's more to do with technical and legal advice that we received since the committee meeting. So I have got some change of recommendation that talks to the current motion.
Oh, I see. Okay. Why don't we? Yeah. Can you give it to? It's on the screen?
They should already have the motion.
All right. Okay, that's that one. Okay, so Councillor Hamill, you moved that. Would you like to second that then with that additional?
I'm happy to listen to from the floor at this stage. I know.
All right. Any seconder? Otherwise.
Mayor, I just would like to know, if it's not changing what the committee discussed, that's okay, but I'd just like to know the actual substance of the change, if you wouldn't mind asking the mover.
No, I'll ask the officer to.
Through the chair. Look, this is just some advice we had from our property people that this recommendation is actually legally stronger. The full intent of what was captured at the committee is carried through. There's no change to any of the properties that we spoke about. There's no change to any of the, I suppose, the intent of what we're trying to do. We're just making sure that this is going to be strong enough if we ever had a contested issue going through with the acquisitions.
Mr Mayor, I've read between the lines and I think I understand clearly what's happening. It's a strengthening to ensure that the intent of what we're trying to do can be done effectively and legally.
Okay, so you're happy to second that then?
Still happy, yes.
Okay, Councillor Gates.
Mr Mayor, would you mind if we go into closed session? I was at the meeting, but I left 15 minutes early, and I would like to have an understanding of the changes that have been made. If you wouldn't mind,
So you move to close?
I would like to move to close.
Seconder, Councillor Wilkinson.
Procedurally, we need to identify what the reasons are for the confidential in accordance with the Act, Mr Mayor.
Yeah. Is it commercial in confidence? Huh? Okay. It's commercial in confidence, isn't it?
Through the Chair, Mr Mayor, acquisition of land, commercial confidentiality and local government budget. There were 3 grounds.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor.
Yeah.
Would you like me to repeat that?
I think the commercial in confidence would suffice, wouldn't it? You don't have to identify all 3.
You can rely on 1 or all 3 to be consistent with the original report.
One's good. Very good. Okay. Seconder, Councillor Wilkinson. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. It's streaming on, and if you can let the people outside know, they can come back in. Right. Who moved the Councillor Hamill? Move. Second, Councillor Tozer. Councillor Hamill, you want to say a few words?
Mr. Mayor, so this item, while on confidential papers, restricts me speaking in great detail on specific items, but I can take the opportunity to speak to the broader intent of this report and hopefully this decision of council today. It's a report that goes into a lot of detail about the future needs of the city for land for sports fields, open green space and community facilities. It's a report that looks from the very north of the city all the way to the south and in between, identifying the appropriate properties that this city should be looking at possibly acquiring in the future for those needs. Mr. Mayor, it's something that in my time in council I have been quite aggressive on in trying to focus officers on thinking more about the right precincts in the right locations. And quite frankly, it was something the last time I got a bit frustrated with, that we weren't making great progress. After the restructure, we have a different set of officers now that oversee this particular piece of work, and I'd like to call them out and thank them for what I think was a really excellent report and timely report. It's one that looks further into the future than we ever have before and looks in great detail at the fact that while we have a very small surplus of land at the moment for sports fields, when we get to 2046, we don't. And if we don't get on with acquiring land in the right locations, that's a big problem for us. So it's a really strategic, forward-thinking report, Mr. Mayor. And the last point I'd make, which is the one I made at committee, that's our role. While we are here to have a look at the day-to-day issues and stuff that's right here, right now, our main job is actually to think to the future and make strategic decisions. And I firmly believe that by backing this recommendation and allowing officers to get on with this acquisition work, that we are setting our city up for a great future when it comes to our sports fields, open green space and community facilities.
Okay, speaking against anyone? I'll deem the debate's closed. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry unanimous. Any other items you want to deal separately, councillors? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that all remaining recommendations be adopted.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carry unanimous. Item 12, consideration notice of motions. Nil, Mr. CEO. Nil. Question or notice, Mr. CEO. Nil. Okay, presentation of petitions. 14.1, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the petition from Atlantis West request council apply the same rate basis when rating, valuing property to be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.2, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also move that a petition from Liberty Panorama requests council apply the same rate basis when rating, valuing property to be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.3, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the petition from the residents of Quarterdeck requesting council apply the same rate basis when rating, valuing property be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.4, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the petition from the residents of Thornton Towers request council apply the same rate basis when rating, valuing properties be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.5, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the petition from the residents of Victoria Towers requesting council to repeal the changes to rates for high-rise apartments be received and referred to a committee for consideration and noted.
Seconder, anyone? Councillor Peter Young. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.6, Councillor Doran.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the petition from residents of Greenwich Court, Ravenna, requesting council allow parking in driveways in Greenwich Court, Ravenna, including partly crossing the boundary to council land, be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Second, Councillor Tozer. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.7, Councillor Doran.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the petition from Kieran Chilcott of Coolwan requesting council note the objectives of the public art policy, which includes recognition and promotion of our Indigenous heritage and culture through public art. Note the performance measures of the public art policy, which includes annual number of percentage of public artworks that express Indigenous culture and or communicate an Indigenous cultural perspective and or are created by Indigenous artists. Noting the role of murals and urban art in reducing the prevalence and cost to ratepayers of graffiti, to engage with relevant stakeholders, including Indigenous leaders, to deliver an Indigenous mural along the retaining wall fronting Cassia Drive at the Varsity Lakes Skate Park, be received and referred to committee for consideration and report.
Second, Councillor Tozer. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. 14.8, Councillor Taylor.
Mr Mayor, I might stand first. I've got a conflict of interest in this regard.
Okay.
I understand that the Chief Petitioner, Mrs Sally Spain, who's a personal friend of mine, I'll choose to leave the meeting to make it easier.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that a petition from Sally Spain requesting council neither allow or enable beach bar, cafe at Curra Beach be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Second, Councillor Wilkinson. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Could you recall Councillor Peter Young? Yeah, please, Councillor Tyson. Thank you. Then we go to 14.9, so there'll be Councillor Tozer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I might just ask the minute taker just to bring my one up because it's a fractionally different. We did it before. So I move in relation to the petition received regarding rectification of Warrangaree Creek, reducing flooding, actually that the petition not be received, and two, that the lead petitioner be provided with the same response and report as that resolved by council pursuant to the Water, Waste and Energy Committee held 10th September 2024. This was the matter that I raised earlier.
Second, Councillor Gates. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry it unanimous. 14.10, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the petition from the residents of the Nelson Surface Paradise request council apply the same rate basis when rating valuing properties be received and referred to a committee for consideration and report.
Second, Councillor Peter Young. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. General business, 15.1, partial leave of absence for myself for council meetings 22nd of October. Councillor Patterson.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor. Given I'm attending that conference, I was wondering if you would consider a change to include me in that, just to be careful.
And item 2, is it going to be, you're going to be there all day or?
It's not my intention, but I just wanted to make sure that if I'm late here or leaving early, that it can be considered.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with that. Yep.
I don't know what a partial leave of absence is. I'll be more than happy to grant it, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I'll get back as soon as I can, maybe 11:30. So I'm not away the whole council meeting.
Mr Mayor, that seems very reasonable. Do you need a leave of absence? I don't think. If you're going to be at the meeting,
let's record it, and
of course,
and then people will know why I'm not here, on time, they might think I'm running late or whatever it is.
I mean,
and I'll explain now to our viewers that I was asked to be on the panel of the Local Government Association Queensland. The topic is sharing our disaster management that occurred in the strong wind, high wind, what we learned and what we could do better, and all those sort of things. So for me, I only intend to be on the panel, and I guess the panel will go for an hour, then subject to traffic on the M1. I would like to be here by 11:30.
Mr. Mayor, would you be opening to changing the council meeting to 12 o'clock that day to enable you to do what you need to do?
No, I mean, Councillor Gates is more than capable to handle all those opening and
absolutely, Mr. Mayor,
and singing the national anthem and and all that sort of stuff.
And Councillor Gates' own conflict of interest.
And really, I think, I mean, you know, I put it this way: when I had a resort hotel and the chef was really worried about taking leave and not being in the kitchen, and I said to him, I said, Chefy, a sign of a good chef is how well the kitchen's run when you're not there. So I think the sign of a good mayor is how well the council runs when I'm not here and being chaired by Councillor Gates.
Of course, Mr. Mayor.
No. Chefy. Councillor Doran?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just suggesting that the title of this general business item be amended to include Councillor Patterson.
Okay. The motion is the motion, but you can add that in, and Councillor Patterson. Okay. Anyone can vote against, and then I've got to be here and missed out on. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried, unanimous. Rightio. Mr. CEO, next item. Can you please all stay behind? I know there's lunch and all that, but as soon as there's other items dealt with, and then we'll close the meeting, but the CEO wants to say a few words. Is there any other item?
No other business.
Other business? No other business. Councillors.